so I'm going to start. See, now that clock's a little behind. Well, good evening, and thank you for coming tonight. According to my time, it is 7 o'clock, so I will call the Monday, April 26, 2021 school board meeting to order. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And as this is our organizational meeting, we will begin with the oath of office. It will be administered by Anita Jagosinski and our newly elected and re-elected school board members, Chris Lau and Jennifer Deek, and our student on board, Emily Zach. Would you please come forward and stand, maintain a distance. Just have them, just.
Okay, that's good. All right, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. I, Jennifer Deek, who have been duly elected to the Holmen Board of Education of the School District of Holmen, but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof. Swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability, so help me God. Congratulations. All right.
I think we want to have a couple pictures, or you want to do that after?
We can do that after.
Okay. So then, Anita, if you would do the roll call, please.
Yep, Gary Dunlap.
Here.
Cheryl Hancock.
Here.
I am here. Chris Lau.
Here.
Rebecca Reimer.
She is excused. I have not heard from Rebecca.
She's running a few minutes late.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Brian Wolpert.
Here.
Jennifer Deek.
Here.
And Emily Zach.
Okay, with 6 of the 7 school board members present, I would declare a quorum. Approval of the agenda. I would note that the agenda has been posted, distributed, and sent to local media. With this in mind, are there any changes? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as published.
So moved.
Okay, Anita and Gary, is that a second? Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda as published. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Board organization. Since this evening is the organization meeting for the school district, let me just get that. Our first order of business is to appoint a temporary chair to conduct the board officers' election. I would entertain a motion to appoint a temporary chair for the board of officers' election.
I nominate Cheryl Hancock.
Is there a second? Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to appoint Cheryl Hancock as the temporary chair for the board officers' election. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Then, the next order of business is the election of board officers. According to Robert's rules, a nomination needs to be made and no second is needed. We are able to have a motion to unanimously elect an officer if the board members so choose as well. So then the first office is the office of president. Are there any nominations for the office of president?
I would nominate Cheryl Hancock.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for the office of president? Are there any other nominations for the office of president? And one last time, are there any other nominations for the office of president? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close nominations and cast a unanimous ballot for Cheryl Hancock as president.
So moved.
Gary, is there a second?
I'll second.
Chris, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Then, vice president. Are there any nominations for the office of vice president?
I'd like to nominate Rebecca Reimer.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for the office of vice president? Any other nominations for the office of vice president? One last time. Any other nominations for the office of vice president? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close nominations and cast a unanimous ballot for Rebecca Reimer for vice president.
So moved.
Anita, is there a second?
Second.
Gary, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The next position is the position of clerk. Are there any nominations for the position of clerk?
I'll nominate Anita Jagodinski.
Are there any other nominations for the position of clerk? Are there any nominations, additional nominations for the position of clerk? And one last time, any other nominations for the clerk? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close nominations and cast a unanimous ballot for Anita Jagodinski for the position of clerk. Gary, is there a second? Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The last position is the position of treasurer. Are there any nominations for the position of treasurer?
I nominate Gary Dunlap.
Okay, are there any other nominations for the position of treasurer? Any other nominations for the position of treasurer? Any other nominations for the position of treasurer? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close nominations and cast a unanimous ballot for the position of treasurer.
So moved.
Okay, Anita, is there a second? Brian, motion's been made and seconded to elect Gary Dunlap as the position of treasurer. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Well, a sincere thank you to all the, those who agreed to serve in these roles. We really appreciate it. The next item on the agenda is designation of special depositories. And I believe Dr. Mueller will cover that for us.
Yep, so Board Policy 652, in the guidelines contained therein, they specify the investment practices for the district. They include that we have an approval of the investment depositories by the board. The investment depositories currently are Cooley Bank, the State of Wisconsin Local Governmental Investment Pool, Park Bank, Associated Trust Company, and the Wisconsin Investment Series Cooperative. The investments held by the depositories must be insured and collateralized and be relatively liquid. We recommend the continuation in the above designated depositories for the upcoming school year.
Okay. So then we would entertain a motion to accept Cooley Bank, the State of Wisconsin, the Local Government Investment Pool, Park Bank, Associated Trust Company, and the Wisconsin Investment Series as the official investment depositories, and Cooley Bank as the checking depository.
So moved.
And the second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, a motion has been made. With no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Then designation of official newspaper.
Yeah, we'd like to recommend the designation of the La Crosse Tribune as the official newspaper. The La Crosse Tribune is a daily newspaper which allows for timely publishing of district information. Each issue is available for public reading at the Holmen Library, the school district libraries, as well as the La Crosse Tribune office. So publication of board minutes costs an average of about $500 per month. So we recommend the La Crosse Tribune to be our official newspaper.
Okay, any questions for Dr. Mueller? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve designating the La Crosse Tribune as the official newspaper for the School District of Holmen.
So moved.
Anita, is there a second?
I'll second.
Chris, any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. WIAA Association membership.
Yeah, so this one's a little bit different this year. Normally, the WIAA membership, the fees would be waived, but under the past circumstances, the membership calls usually for a flat fee plus an additional assessment per sport in which the district participates. They have waived the fee requirement for the 2015-16 through the 2021 school years, but because of the revenue lost by WIAA due to canceled state tournaments and tournaments with restricted attendance, they are asking and looking to charge an anticipated $4,000 for the 21-22 school year. So we would recommend that we would continue our membership with WIAA with the flat fee of $4,000 for the 21-22 school year.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the 21-22 WIAA membership for the district activities.
So move.
Gary, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Jennifer, any discussion or questions? Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the membership in WIAA. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Then next is the Wisconsin Association of School Board membership.
Yeah. Each year, the school board must determine whether to renew its membership with the Wisconsin Association of School Board. The purpose of this organization is to aid and assist public school boards and public school agencies of the state of Wisconsin in performing their lawful functions by meetings, communication, and dissemination of information, and providing other services to our agencies. So I would recommend that we continue our membership with our Wisconsin Association of School Boards, and it's an anticipated yearly approximate cost of $10,000.
Okay. Any questions? Then I would entertain a motion to approve the school district's 21-22 WASB membership as presented.
So move.
Gary, is there a second?
I'll second.
Chris, any questions or discussion? Okay, seeing none. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the WASB membership. Please, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Designation of a WASB representative. Currently, Anita Jagosinski serves in that role. Dr. Mueller, did you
Yeah.
want to?
Exactly what I was going to just say. So, no, that's okay. So each year, as a school board, you must identify someone who will represent, be a voting member on the Wisconsin Association of School Board. And really what that means is you would be attending the annual convention that is scheduled January 19th through the 21st in Milwaukee, and you pretty much are a voting body for representing the board in Holmen at that meeting. You would need to today decide and designate who would maybe like to do this.
And the voting part is each year the WASB identifies strategies, priorities, those sorts of things, and as a membership, you approve those. And it's some of it is also related to policy in how they approach state legislation about priorities that they have for schools in the upcoming year, budget things, those sorts of things. So I know sometimes we have said, is anyone interested in serving in this role or willing to serve in this role?
I can do it.
Okay, Chris, so then, anyone else? So then we would need a nomination to appoint Chris Lau as the 21-22 WASB representative. I would entertain that motion. Okay, Brian, and a second, Anita, was that, okay? Motion's been made and seconded to appoint Chris Lau as the 21-22 WASB representative. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Then the designation of the CISA 4 representative.
And so then we also have someone on the school board that is a regional representative for our CISA 4 in the area here. And this person, one of the things that they do is they represent our school district at their annual convention, which is held on June 2nd. That would begin at 6:30. So that would be one of the commitments that you would be making in this role. Chris Lau was a representative last year, so I would leave it to that and see where you want to go.
I think we'll do the same thing. Is anyone interested and willing to serve in this role? Brian, is there anyone else that would be interested in serving in this role? I would then open or entertain a motion to appoint Brian as the CISA 4 representative.
I'll make the motion.
Anita, is there a second?
Second.
Hello, Rebecca. Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to appoint Brian Wopad as the 21-22 CISA 4 representative. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The last item on the organizational part of the meeting is to designate school boarding meetings, times, and dates.
Yeah, in your board packet is a 21-22 board meeting calendar. What you will see is it is pretty much mirroring the past years where we would have a meeting the second and fourth Monday of the month occurring at 7 p.m. unless otherwise stipulated on board by our board president. And as you all know, we, for any meeting that we post our agenda 24 hours prior to our meeting. So one thing I want to note on the calendar is there is 1 month, December, where we do not have 2 meetings. We usually have 1 meeting just due to all of the winter break that occurs at the end of that month, so.
And then sometimes in May, our meeting is on Tuesday because depending on the fourth Monday of the
Yeah,
month.
I think
Yeah.
we were fortunate not to hit
That
a
this year?
Memorial Day
Oh,
or
wow.
Easter or spring
I know, those are
holiday this
usually the
next
only
year.
2
Yeah.
changes. Yes.
Yep.
So I would entertain a motion to approve the second and fourth Mondays at 7 p.m. as the regular board meeting dates and times. Brian, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Chris, any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Rebecca, congratulations, you were reelected as vice chair by the president.
Sorry. Welcome to the meeting.
That is okay. Yeah. So the next item on the agenda is public participation. And I would just remind folks that we provide for and allow for public participation at each of our regular board meetings. We allow 5 minutes per person to speak. We do ask that you come forward. When you are at the microphone, you can take your mask off. That is fine. We ask you to speak to policies and programs and those sorts of things. And I don't know if Anita or Stacy is going to do the timing. So you'll give a warning at 30 seconds to go.
Yep, I'll hold up a sheet.
And then, out of respect for everybody's time, we ask that you conclude at that 5 minute. I think she's going to set a timer on her phone so that you can hear that, but we just ask for your respect of the time commitments. So the first person I have, and these were just given to me, Tony Zach would like to speak. So Tony?
Tony Zach, 808 Winchester Lane. I was here last month. It's good to be back. I'm going to make this a monthly thing, I guess, for a while. This time I actually prepared something in writing. I'm not usually one to read from something like this, but if I don't, I'm going to go over my time or say something crazy, but bear with me. The School District of Holmen has a rule that if you are going to watch sports outside in the bleachers, that you have to wear a mask. Yes, I said that right. The bleachers outside, you have to wear a mask. My daughter didn't want me to come to her last track meet a few weeks ago because she knew I wouldn't want to wear the mask and she was going to be embarrassed. That is how far we've taken this. Our own children are brainwashed with this cloth that we put over our mouth. I will not wear this mask outside. I'm just not going to do it. Where's the common sense here? I thought that this board was made up of the best and could put together some rational thought. You want to force these kids into wearing masks that do nothing. And if they did do something, why are you sending kids home to quarantine for 14 days just because of exposure? Shouldn't they just wear the mask? Do they work or not? What you guys are doing, I think, is you're preparing to close things down and go back to in-home learning. I think you're going to send our kids back home because the kids have, allergies, or they get a sniffle and they have to go home. Just another symptom of COVID. Then they get tested, it comes back negative, and you still quarantine them for 14 days. That's where we're at right now. So you say, well, what does the CDC say? Well, the CDC and Anthony Fauci have been back and forth on the mask from day one. Quote from Dr. Fauci, "When you are in the middle of an outbreak, it may make people feel a little bit better, and it may even block a droplet. But it is not providing the perfect protection people think that it is." End quote. We did not elect the CDC to guide this school district. We elected you to represent this school district. We are way past the masking of our kids and in-home learning. Every adult can get the vaccine right now, and we all know that kids are not affected by this virus like adults. It is time to take the mask off our children. At least it should be an option for parents to send their kids without the mask. You should make masking optional. As a parent, I have the right to guide my child on these health issues. If one of my girls wants to wear the mask, fine. But if the other one does not, it should be something that the parents decide with them. Like the last meeting, you will ask me to put my mask back on or leave after I speak because you say that I have to wear the mask in this building. However, because this is public property and a school board meeting, open meeting law states that you can't take that stand. No one in this building has to wear this mask in order to participate in this meeting. That is a fact, and I know that because I've sat on boards myself, and I know the state statute. If I don't want to wear the mask, or if I have a medical condition that prohibits me from wearing the mask, I cannot be turned away. Public meetings must be reasonably accessible and open to all citizens. If I come here to speak against the masking of our children and you simply turn me away because I don't want to wear the mask, see how easy that is? You can simply keep people out with a different opinion than yours. I don't just speak for myself, I speak for those who are afraid to show up. I represent those who are too scared to come before you because they are afraid of what others might think. They are afraid of the cancel culture that we live in today. Take a look at the people who showed up today. You have awakened a lion, not only in me, but in them. That room over there is full. There's a whole bunch of people here that are ready to speak. 3 people spoke last month. 3. We got a whole bunch of them tonight, and you guys are going to be here for a while. So keep pushing your bogus policies and instilling fear in our children and parents, and see how many people show up for the next meeting. We have only just begun.
Thank you. Next person is, I think it's Katie Bodie?
Yep, you're right.
Thank you.
Not many people get it right.
Oh.
All right, good evening. First off, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to come here and share my concerns with all of you. Congratulations to Chris and Jennifer for getting elected. I personally did not vote for you, but our family will be praying for you to do the best thing for our students and my children. My name is Katie Bodie. I live at 2109 Span Court, Holmen, Wisconsin, and I'm here to speak up on behalf of my daughter, Camille Bodie, who was supposed to start kindergarten last year in the Holmen School District. To make a long story short, I pulled my daughter from the School District of Holmen and enrolled her in 4K again at a private school. My daughter has been in school full-time, mask-free, the entire 2020-2021 school year. A decision that I am so thankful for, because if I would have kept her enrolled in the Holmen School District, she would not have been in school full time, and she would be forced to wear a mask all day, even though as her mother, I should have the freedom to choose if I want my daughter to be in a mask. Not the school, not the teachers, and not the La Crosse County Health Department. For the 2021-2022 school year, I have to send her to kindergarten. Now, I may be forced to send her to first grade because her birthday is May 21st. That is an entirely different topic that is for another day, and I will continue to fight that as well. Either way, where she ends up is still on the table. From our home in Holmen, Trempealeau Elementary School is 10 minutes away. Galesville Elementary, 13 minutes. Irving Perch in Alaska, 12 minutes. Cooley Christian School, 20 minutes. I have options, and I will have to make that same decision this summer to pull Camille from the Holmen School District, just like I did last year for the 2021-2022 school year, if masks are required and not optional. On March 11th, the school administrator was on the news saying that she anticipated growth this year with the new expansion, which I voted for the high school. And instead, enrollment was down 50 kids, which I believe equates to like $1.5 million in lost funding. Yet there was no idea why. I can tell you why. Enrollment was down because in the Holmen community, most families are middle to upper middle class, and we have the flexibility to pull our kids and enroll in another school district or homeschool. My family is one of the many families that did this, and we will do it again this year if we have to. If you are the first school district to give parents a choice to mask or not mask, I guarantee you your enrollment is going to go up 50, 100, 200. Be bold, be brave, be the first school district in this area to do it. If teachers are vaccinated by their own choice, and parents of students are vaccinated by their own choice, and if 88% per the La Crosse County Health Department of adults ages 65 and older who are considered high risk for COVID-19 are vaccinated, then, if are vaccinated in La Crosse County, then parents should be able to send their child to school with or without a mask and make that their own choice. If we truly believe masks and vaccines work, then parents should have the choice to put their child in a mask. Why are you refusing the choice and the rights of parents to make health decisions for our own children? At this point, it is quite obvious that it really isn't you guys, the school board, that is truly forcing the masks. I can see through it. Considering the mask mandate is over and an advisory by La Crosse County is not a mandate or even remotely close to a law, it is clearly the pressure from the La Crosse County Health Department on the school's attorneys, making them believe that someone somewhere is going to sue the school district if their child contracts and or dies of COVID-19. I could get into the statistics of children and what happens with them when they get this, but it's virtually a zero chance of them dying. So go ahead, make me fill out a waiver for next year. I will sign it here and I will sign it now if it gives me the freedom and the choice to not send my daughter to school in a mask. Her health, physical, emotional, and spiritual, is extremely important to me, and I will fight to make sure we have the choice to send her to school without a mask. I, Katie Bodie, release any and all liability for my daughter, Camille Bodie, if she contracts COVID-19 and or dies from COVID-19 on any Holmen School District property due to our personal choice to not send her to school in a mask. I'm not here to debate mask versus no mask. I'm here to fight for my choice and many other parents' choice to not put their children in a mask if they so choose.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Timothy Jensen.
I promise not to activate the pinball machine.
No, I tried to turn it down.
My name is Timothy Jensen. I live at 224 Marie Drive. Former 13-year classroom teacher from another school district. And I'm here to support many of my friends here who also are opposed to requiring the students to wear a mask. I went to, January 24th of this year, I went to Green Bay, Wisconsin, and attended the NFC Championship game. And I received this once I got past the ticket person. It's a Green Bay Packer logo mask, for those of you who, if you don't see it on the camera. And the thing that amused me was this is, by the way, unsealed. I've never opened this before, but there's a sticker on here that says, "This item is not for medical use." It was handed to me by the Packers organization ushers. They had ushers all around the stadium, an outdoor stadium, requiring masks. And the ushers were enforcing it. They were coming up to people and, "Please put your mask on." They were very polite about it. It was a good experience. Unfortunately, the Packers lost. But I was amused by this item is not for medical use. And the reason I was amused by that is because an organization with the national exposure of the Green Bay Packers hands out a mask that they don't believe in. Because otherwise they would have one that said, "This item is for medical use." And it seems to me with this cloth mask that if it's not effective, they're just trying to protect themselves from being sued. The manufacturer of the product are also trying to protect themselves from being sued. And it just seems to me that maybe that's where your position on mask mandates are coming from. It's my opinion, and I think the opinion of a number of people here, I'm not going to speak for them, but it's just my impression, that we should at least give the students the option. Give them the choice, because that's what our country is founded on, the freedom of choice. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for serving us on the school board.
Thank you. Next person is Jennifer Wesley.
Jennifer Wesley, N8730 Garfield Road, Holmen. I didn't have intention of speaking again tonight, just until this morning when I received a phone call from the middle school nurse's office. My Monday morning was derailed from there, to say the least. The phone call came in at 7:43 a.m., notifying me that my son has to be picked up from school and is being sent home for a 14-day quarantine as a result of close contact on Friday. The nurse went on to tell me that I should have received an email about this over the weekend. Shocked, I hung up the phone and checked my emails. Sure enough, an email was sent last night at 7:02 p.m. That was about the time our family was showering and getting ready for the night. Was I expected to be checking my emails then? Is close contact not enough to warrant a personal phone call? Beyond frustrated that my healthy son is being told he can't return to school until May 8th, I was left with no choice but to figure out how I was going to stand up for his rights as a healthy, responsible student. This district's quarantine process has medical discrimination all over it. I want to provide the board, the administration, and all the principals with the following legal notices. First, it is unlawful for you as a public servant or to instruct another public servant to prohibit students from entering Holmen School District buildings, which are a place of public accommodation. U.S. Federal Civil Rights Law, Title II, requires free and equal access to all services and facilities without discrimination. Forcing healthy students to isolate and study online is not equal. Furthermore, the non-discrimination laws in the state under Wisconsin Civil Rights Act prohibit you from preventing entry to the full enjoyment of a place of public education establishment. Violation of these laws could result in you being served a notice of discrimination, which can serve as the basis of a formal complaint against you personally. Second, it is unlawful for you as a public servant or to instruct another public servant to block someone's entry to the Holmen School District buildings. These are places of public education accommodation, and as such, no student may be prevented entry to the school as it is open to the public. Attempting to prevent a student's entry as to these schools or restrict, detain, or confine their movement is unlawful violation of personal liberty of another and constituted as false imprisonment under Wisconsin Statute 940.30. This can be charged as felony and punishable up to 3 years in jail. Third, neither you as a public servant nor any other public servant may prevent the lawful entry of a student regardless of whether they are wearing a mask or not. Attempting to prevent the entry of a student to Holmen School District school buildings, which are a place of public accommodation, is a violation of the implied irrevocable license that this school district has granted to the public. Attempting to prevent entry into a school is a violation of Wisconsin Statute 9.40.30 and Wisconsin Statute 106.52, free and equal access to public accommodations. Holmen school districts are legally defined as places of public accommodation, and as such, you may not prohibit entry by discriminating against someone for their medical condition, disability, or religious views. If someone is unable or unwilling to wear a mask for one of those reasons, you may not prohibit their entry, nor may you file a charge of trespassing because of their legally protected status. Last, any attempt by you as a public servant or any other public servant to summon law enforcement with a claim of trespassing will be reported as assault by you or any other public servant. You or your employee can be charged with and convicted of assault under this state statute 940.19, even if no one is physically hurt by your behavior. There is no valid claim of trespass because of Wisconsin statute 106.52, which says A, your school establishment is open to the public. B, this school has extended an irrevocable license to the public for entry. C, the student has entered legally and has not interfered with the business. D, there is no evidence of violation. With that, my healthy son will be dropped off at school tomorrow morning, and it is expected that he receives the same education as all other students in the building until you furnish our family with restraining orders. By the way, open enrollment deadline is April 30th.
So, sir, would you put your mask up, please? Yes. Yes.
We're not listening. We're not just embracing what's going on.
I know, but it's the rule, and it's the rule. So, next person to speak will be Rebecca Blank.
N7391 Casper Cooley Road. So I think my talk, I didn't plan on speaking until I received a phone call from the assistant principal saying, oh, your healthy son, he's in quarantine. Actually, why? Why? He has no symptoms. Does he have any new fevers, cough, shortness of breath? Nope. When was his exposure? We're not real sure, except everybody else from, I don't know, a week ago that's already been in quarantine, mandatory, with their negative test, are not being allowed back into the school. Wait, what, they have a negative test and you're not letting them back in? Now you're totally going against medical advice. A negative test is a negative test is a negative test. And you can't give what you don't have. So why are they being discriminated against? My response was, he's going. He is a healthy freshman. Oh, with asthma, by the way. But he's healthy. He's well treated. He is asymptomatic. His core group of people are all negative. So I'm gonna bet that he's negative too, because I'm gonna use a little common sense, and I'm gonna send him. And he's like, well, you can't do that. I said, well, actually I can, because there's no law saying I can't. I'm his mother, he's a minor, and I am not breaking any laws, nor is he. And if he is removed, it is assault. And that is not acceptable. So it brings me, interestingly, how I was gonna talk my little impromptu speech. I love the Bible verse, Deuteronomy 31:8. It talks about, do not be afraid. By bringing up God in a public facility, I've just exercised my right, my First Amendment right for freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to assemble, freedom to petition, my freedom of choice, which you will not take away from me or anybody else. We have a choice. So what this tells me is you don't have a plan. The school district doesn't really have a plan other than that of reaction. Oh dear, somebody got COVID. Let me see, death rate 0 to 18, that's about 0% in kids. Are immune compromised, are vaccinated. Are people at risk, teachers, healthcare providers, are vaccinated by choice. So if we believe that works and those that have already had it have antibodies, who are we trying to protect? Healthy kids from healthy kids? There's no common sense in that.
You're now creating injustice, social lepers, isolation, depression, anxiety, to name a few. Common sense needs to be used. So I propose a plan. Healthy kids go to school, sick kids stay home. This virus isn't going anywhere. Let's learn to live with it instead of react to it. In fact, there's a little joke going around amongst the students. They've made a game of it. Who's next? Who's the next one to get pulled? And then they text each other. I'm in, are you in? And then they equate it to Nazi Germany and the dictatorship and the fear that goes along with, they're gonna pull me today? Where am I gonna be isolated to? What did I do wrong? So when the school board, whoever is in charge of this, reaches in and the students compare them to one of the worst pieces of history, I would hang my head in shame. Set an example, lead by example. Don't teach them to live in fear. Teach them to wash their hands and be respectful. Teach them how to live, not hide their heads in the sand, because that's what's happening right now. We are not okay with this at all. We're not going to stand for it. We're not going to agree with it, and we're not going to comply to it. We have a choice. We have a right, and it can't be taken away because somebody else says you can't do it, because we're going to do it. I don't think the intent of those that are doing it is bad. I think the intent is good. I think they mean to protect people, but you cannot react the same way. Thank you. So I think the intent is good, but it's time to make some changes because the intent now is causing harm. The intended good is causing a lot of damage in a lot of people. And clearly, it's upsetting the community. It goes against the mission of the school board. It's wrong. It needs to stop. So my son, freshman, 15, healthy, he's going to be in school tomorrow because it's his right. And it's my right to send him, not yours. I'm his mother. He'll be there every day of the week. And I've called on my friends.
Time is up.
They're sending their kids too. Thank you.
Thank you. The next is Chad Updike.
Hi, my name's Chad Updike, W5531 Olson Road here in Holmen. I want to start out just how I've started out every interaction with you, the school board, over the last year in emails or talking, and that's to thank you for serving. It's not an easy position, and that's not lost on me, especially over the course of the last year, so I appreciate it. I had a whole list of notes and things to talk about tonight. And on my way over, it was on my heart to just speak for a minute. I wanted to talk about the masks and getting the masks off our kids. The fact that at recess, my wife works at Prairie View as an EA, and at recess, she has kids coming up to her asking if they can go back inside because they're overheating, they can't breathe. She said, not once since I've worked here has a kid come up to me and asked to leave recess. It's just not right. I drive past the baseball field and see the high school baseball players practicing. There's somebody standing in left field, nobody within 50 yards of him, he's got a mask on. It's just not right. I wanted to talk as a clinician. I'm a chiropractor and a business owner here, but I don't think any of those stats will do anything to move the needle, talking about actual science and science that is proven. I just wanted to say, and I'll finish up, that the number one determining factor when we chose where to live, aside from where I have a business, was the school district and what we thought the school district could provide for our kids. We thought Holmen would give our kids the more advantages than maybe a smaller school district, more opportunities to get involved, more people, more friends. But over the course of the last year, we've been disappointed in not the school themselves, because the teachers are phenomenal. I can't say enough about Dr. Weber at Prairie View. He's awesome. Our individual teachers, kids' teachers, have been phenomenal, and they've gone above and beyond. But the lack of clear leadership and having a plan, I've been really, really disappointed with. And the previous speakers have spoke to that point in more more detail. But as I said a year ago when I sent you guys an email, you have an opportunity to be leaders, not only for our children and the district, but across the state of Wisconsin. There are some districts that are making the choice to give parents and students choice of whether they think their kids should wear this or not. If you guys actually step up and make that decision and choice, you'll be acting as leaders, and I can guarantee you there will be districts that follow you. So again, I know it's not an easy position, but I ask you to please step out and start acting with leadership and making decisions based on what's best for our kids, not based on fear and reactions. Again, I appreciate you serving. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Next is Liz Reimer.
My name is Liz Reimer. I live on Hanson Drive in Holmen. And I'm just going to kind of repeat what we've already heard, but with a little bit different twist. This is my first meeting. I have a little girl that's going to be 4 in about a week. And I have a son who's a year and a half. But my daughter is signed up and ready and excited for 4K in Holmen. But it's a little bit different for us, this mask thing. And I'll try not to get emotional. But she has hearing aids and she has some hearing loss. And while the hearing aids are second nature in our home now, it's going to be very challenging if her teacher has a mask on and she can't see their mouth move. And I just worry, how is my daughter going to learn the alphabet appropriately? Things like that. It's hard to hear as an adult who doesn't have hearing loss, peers, talking through a mask. It's muffled. That's my worry. So I know this conversation is politicized. I'm not even reading what I brought, but I would really encourage you to think about it from a different point of view for a kid who isn't normal and how it affects them in their family. And I can't even imagine how some of these parents with older kids have been doing it. I'm a working parent. My husband works. I don't know how we would do it. So I would just really encourage you to think about that. And like everyone has said, just lead by example and make it a choice. If someone doesn't feel comfortable without a mask, by all means. I just want to give my daughter and all of the kids a fair shot at a real education this year. And I just really hope that you guys feel moved to do that for our kids. That's really all I have to say. So I would urge you to think about that. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Then Lauria Bada. Lauria Bada. What? Okay.
Who do you have next?
Paula Meyer.
I always get lost in halls. Okay. My name is Lauria Bada. I live on 210 State Street in Holmen. Good evening, President Hancock and school board members. I want to thank you for allowing us to express our concerns to you. Tonight, I would like to address the comments made on the April 12th meeting at the end by some of the board members. I had to leave early, but I did watch the remaining meeting on YouTube. Some of the comments that were made were that 99% of the people responding to my comment regarding 99% of the people who had COVID have recovered and survived. And it was said that that number is nearly the exact amount we have dead right now, which is 564,000 out of the population of 600 million. I don't know if Mr. Dunlap meant worldwide or nationwide, but we have approximately 329 million people in the United States. I looked up COVID cases in the United States, and there was 3,670,846 cases as of a week and a half ago, of which 567,210 died. Wisconsin has had 57,267 cases, of which 703 died. La Crosse County has had 12,000 cases, and of those, 80 have died from COVID. I'm not a mathematician, but I do own a calculator. Dividing the total COVID cases by the deaths in the U.S. equaled 0.15%. In Wisconsin, it was 0.1%. In La Crosse County, it was 0.006. I don't want to minimize any death, but when the flu is in full swing, it was equal to or more than those percentages, and we never masked our children for that. Other comments that were made were parents put these perspectives into the children, and if they would only tell them it's the loving thing to do to slow the spread, and also that our children are resilient. So my question is, are parents supposed to not address the complaints of headaches, acne, emotional stress, and other things that happen as from being in a faceless environment? Another comment, children get used to the masks so much that children forget to take them off when they get home. My children used to forget their winter coats in the middle of winter coming to school. Is that a good thing? I doubt that every parent wants their child to get used to not seeing faces or breathing fresh air. Also, how many teachers have actually asked their students, do they mind wearing these masks? When I go out about on my walks and I see kids, I ask them, and they don't like it. Following the guidance, the other comment was, we're following the guidance and advisory of the DHS and CDC. The last time I checked, I don't think I sent a vote to elect any of those positions. But the Holmen School Board, we elected you. And as parents and grandparents, we expect you to make decisions in the best interest of the children. If there's any hope of only to the end of this year of this mask mandate, that was shot down by Dr. Tony Fauci, who keeps changing his mind, going from masks don't work to always wear a mask, to always wear 2 masks, to always wear 3 masks, or until the vaccine, then things can go back to normal, to nope, you still mask up, social distance, and stay home, even if you have the vaccine. As far as kids being resilient, and many and most are, but according to a Forbes report, this pandemic has had a devastating impact on the mental health of teenagers in the USA, according to the medical records and insurance claims conducted by the FAIR, Fair Health, who have found that overdoses, intentional self-harm, substance and use disorders, and claims for depression and anxiety disorders all increased 99% in 2020 compared to the prior year. Yes, many kids are resilient, but increasingly more kids are not. They need to see the faces of their peers and teachers. I will again reiterate that this very not normal mandate is not worth for the 99% plus that get over it. I would like to close with a quote from a board member from another school district who reversed their face mask mandate. He said, "I'd like to assure you that my decision to lift the mandate has had no regrets. With the first day of school mask-free
Thank you, that's your time, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I thought I got it through.
Sorry.
The next person is Paula Meyer.
What's the rest of the poll, Lori?
Paula Meyer, please don't, Lori. Paula Meyer.
That is ridiculous. Carol, you could give her 30 more seconds.
Paula, please don't infringe on her time.
Paula Meyer, N6728 Sun Valley Drive in Holmen. Just Wasn't going to speak, just going to be here present, but a situation occurred today at 2:30. My daughter is a third grader, elementary school, and got a call at 2:30 this afternoon that from the health office that she would need to be picked up as soon as someone could get there due to a close contact on the bus. So I had plenty of questions that couldn't be answered at that time. So in calling my husband, who can get there first, both working, then in that time, put a call into my boss. Then I put a call into the principal, to the district or the transportation office. And so in my husband picking her up, I had the time to take the incoming phone calls. So health office, could only tell the policies and protocols of which Holmen has. And then I did get a call back from her teacher after, because I didn't know what happened or how this is going to roll out since, we've been home almost a full year. And then I did get a call back from the principal, and in a discussion with her, collaborating together, I did some brainstorming and talking to my daughter, and a week to week and a half on the bus, there was a seating change, okay? So we were talking about a week ago, who sits by who and this and that, and all excited because we get to sit by this friend and so on and so forth. So I put my brain on and was like, I wonder if the seating chart had ever got updated. So, in talking to the principal, we talked it out, and it was late. I'm like, you know what, you get to go home too. We can certainly address this in the morning. And in the meantime, I was waiting a call back from the manager of the bus garage. In that time, principal had made a call, and a long story made short, there was a mistake made. My daughter did not have to quarantine. She will not have to quarantine because the seating chart was incorrect. There was not a close contact with my daughter. And my daughter came home crying because she's going to take the test tomorrow for the Wisconsin State. And I'm like, I have to go to bat for her. If she had to stay home, she had to stay home, but a mistake was made. And she'll be at school tomorrow. And for the help of the principal, we did it together. So I just wanted to get this out there that mistakes are being made. And I'm just glad this one was caught. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lisa Risch.
Hi, Lisa Risch, 904 First Avenue East in Holmen. The following remarks were made by a science teacher at our high school who lives outside of the district. This teacher wished to stay anonymous as to keep political thoughts away from students, and I was just asked to read this at 6:30 tonight. First and foremost, thank you to both our school board and all our administrators for continually focusing on both the health and well-being of our students and making challenging decisions. It has been a very difficult year, but using caution has allowed us to transition to in-person learning, which has always been our common goal. We knew that this would come with conditions. We would need to enforce as many mitigation strategies as we could in each circumstance to ensure we could continue safely. My students are pretty wonderful, and each week, though continually, they let their masks slip below their noses. They are polite when I call them out, but it is continuous. Several have told me that the masks aren't effective. They are saying this because they believe it, or have been told so, but the scientific data disagrees. Plenty of studies have investigated the filtering power of cloth masks. While style and composition of masks appears to have a significant influence over filtration capacity, and studies show that common masks may allow smaller side jets of air, every study I have found suggests that all masks reduce transmission of aerosols, droplets, bacteria, and particles. This includes findings in the British Journal of Medicine in 1975, a 2013 study on homemade masks and microorganism transmission, a 2012 and 2013 study among patients with cystic fibrosis, a 2018 study on transmission of pneumonia causing aerosols, a 2020 study on transmission of influenza and seasonal human coronaviruses, a 2020 study of the spatial spread of exhaled gases with a face mask, and a 2021 study of face coverings and aerosol transmission. I'm not a scientist, but she is. We now know that this virus is primarily spread through the respiratory droplets, so anything we can do to filter the air we breathe has a positive effect. A study of Beijing households found that mask wearing reduced the likelihood of secondary infection by 79%. Aboard the USS Theodore Roosevelt in Guam, mask wearing reduced the likelihood of infection by 70%. A mask of over 800 close contacts in survey in Bangkok, Thailand, found that consistent mask wearing reduced the risk of infection by 77%. Another study found a 7.5% decrease in case frequency when comparing countries with mask mandates versus without using a multiple regression approach. Here in the U.S., a survey of 300,000 people showed that a 10% increase in mask wearing tripled the likelihood of stopping community spread. When mask wearing was fully implemented among healthcare workers in Boston, they saw a decline in new cases among staff of 3.4% weekly. Mask mandates in Canada yielded a 20 to 40% decline in new diagnosis. And in the United States, areas with mask mandates showed decreased case frequency, while those without showed increased frequency. Specifically, some localities had a 3% increase in COVID-related deaths following the lifting of mask mandates. I do not enjoy wearing a mask. As soon as it is safe and reasonable to not wear one, I will be incredibly happy to stop. That time is not now, though. Many spring sports just started. AP testing starts next week. Prom. It's next month. A graduation, world tour, grad parties will follow. Our students deserve to experience all of these things. Eliminating or continually criticizing mask policies increases the risk that many of our students will not get to enjoy every positive experience at the end of what has been a very challenging year. In addition to requesting that the school board hold firm on our mask policy, I ask all parents listening to consider the messaging they are sharing with their children. Absolutely encourage them to question policy, do their research, and speak up when they feel so moved. However, please also encourage them to follow our policy with fidelity until our school board makes the decision that can be safely changed. Thanks for all you've done to support the community and students this year, and this science teacher also gives her sources. Darn it. I had some of my own thoughts after listening tonight. It's because we have many things in common. I feel like I want to turn around because none of us like wearing masks. None of us want to do this or have the pandemic continue, but we're all parents. And it's the most important job we have is to talk to our students and our children and to teach them about following guidelines and being compassionate and empathetic to the people who are in the room.
Quiet.
Thank
please.
you.
Yep. Thank you. Leslie Clements.
Hello, Leslie Clements, 3000 Perch Drive, Holmen, Wisconsin. I'll let you know right off the bat that I'm so emotional because of everything that my children have went through and what they're going through right now. I was drawn here tonight. I wasn't planning on coming, and both of my boys know that I'm here. They're both in middle school, and in my house, I'm mom and dad. I have a successful full-time job. I'm exempt from wearing this mask, but I wear it when I can because I'm a rule follower, and that's how I raise my kids, to follow the rules. I work in healthcare, and I tell them, this mask doesn't work. You have to do a lot more than this to make it work. But we are rule followers, and we will do what we can and what the school tells us to do because we want to be in school in person. So with that quick thing, I'm not here to talk about masks because everybody else has done that. I'm here to talk to you from my heart. One of my kids refused to go to school today, and he refused to go one day last week. He's in 6th grade. He says, it doesn't matter. They don't care if I come or not. We went a whole year, and I didn't learn a thing, Mom. I didn't learn a thing. I didn't have the end of my 5th grade, and I was so nervous coming to 6th grade because I've never been here. He says, all that matters is I finish my assignments and I pass my tests. My 7th grade son, I didn't even know if kids were allowed. I said, you want to come with? No. Why? Well, because they're not going to listen to you, and they don't care, Mom. He goes, and I just had the fastest year ever, and I didn't have to learn a thing. That was sad. I don't want my kids to not learn. I feel my kids are a victim to being in person and learning. They need to stay in person. And I want you to know that it's been very hard to be a full-time, away from the home parent and having to come home in the middle of the day and have to take Monday mornings off to get them on track and keep them from screwing around. And it's been very hard, and I really, really want our kids to stay in school. To get down to the point, because I don't know how much time I have left, what's worse that's going on with my kids is depression and anxiety and suicidal threats from the one that's not wanting to go to school. This has never happened before. COVID, this has never happened. We see a counselor every week. We started seeing someone from church that works with the children. But guess what's even worse than this? Can you imagine what's worse than suicide threats? Someone has found my son online. A sexual predator has found my son online. You know what I have at home? I have strict rules with electronics. I pause my electronics. They have time limits. They have guidelines. How did they get in? Snapchat was just recently taken off the Chromebooks at the Holmen school. Unbelievable that it was even on there in the first place. I don't know how this has happened, but our kids need to stay in school. Keep them in school. Please know that you are responsible. And these quarantines, I don't know why healthy kids need to stay. We've had flus and colds, and this is just another one of them. This is about our kids, and this is what you as school board members need to do, is keep our kids first. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes the public participation. I don't normally make a comment, but I will tonight. Liz, I want you to know and to speak to Jill Mason, because the situation you described would be addressed. I promise you. And if it's not addressed, come and see me. But I promise you it would be addressed. Okay, then moving on to District Administrator's report. Dr. Mueller.
Okay, tonight I have a few items, and then I will speak, I'll start with that. It's probably the interest of a lot of people in the room. I want to speak to what's going on currently and give a status report in the School District of Holmen. I want to say over a week ago we had 0 active cases. Right now there are currently 22 active cases of COVID, which has resulted in a large number of close contacts. These are the highest numbers we have seen in a long time. The majority of the cases are at the secondary level, but we are starting to see some cases at the elementary level. And what I'm doing is just stating the facts that I know. This increase in positive cases is evidence of the COVID-19 variant in our area. It has been shared from our health experts and researchers that the new variants are 50 to 60% more transmissible. What we are currently seeing in the Holmen community parallels with what has been seen across the country. There has been a significant resurgence of COVID-19 in Michigan and in Minnesota. We know with the variants present in our area, it is important now more than ever to continue to follow public health measures like wearing a mask, maintaining distancing when possible, and practicing good hand hygiene in and out of school. It is also imperative that if a student or anyone else in the household doesn't feel well or is experiencing COVID-19 symptoms, that they stay home, get tested, and communicate with our health services team. In our schools, we continue to apply a multi-layered approach to mitigation because we want our kids in school in person. One of our mitigation measures to this multi-layered approach is quarantine, and the purpose of the quarantine is to limit the possibility of the spread through contact tracing, because there is a time period where the research has found that there could be, from when a student has an exposure, that they can be infectious. If we are able to reduce the spread through quarantine, this allows us to remain in person. We know this is a hardship, and we work very hard to avoid it. We also know that not all close contacts will test positive, but those that are identified as close contacts are at higher risk. Students who are quarantined are not considered positive cases. Students identified as school close contacts would need to quarantine. Family members of close contacts do not unless symptoms develop. With our current conditions, mitigation measures of our spring sports are being reevaluated. We know that these activities will need to run with strict mitigation measures. Adhering to these measures is the best way to ensure they continue. As we reflect on the spring of 2020, our students and our athletes missed out on so many experiences. Our families, teachers, staff are working so hard to find creative ways to offer these with the appropriate mitigation. It is on all of us to rise to this challenge and accept that we have to do some things that we don't like. If we make these small sacrifices, it is our kids who will reap the rewards. And we're going to keep having discussions, and we have calls with the health department and others, because really it's about our kids. We want our kids in school, and we want our kids to participate in these events, in the sports, and have these opportunities. I want to see the kids cross the stage at graduation this year, where they should. Okay. And I want to see the kids to be able to have a prom and so forth. You know, that's what we're striving for. And we all have a hard time wearing these. It's hard. It's like I feel like you can't hear me clearly and so on, but I'm doing it for the kids. That's what I'm going to say. Okay. On another note, I'd like to welcome our new board members. So welcome Jennifer Deek, and Chris, welcome back, and Emily. Thank you for representing our student body, and thank you for being here. Congratulations to our high school dance team. So it's great to be able to say they had a performance. They had a D2 POM regional championship in a Division I jazz regional. They were runners up for that. So they completed this virtual state competition on April 25th, and we congratulate them for that. And congratulations to our high school forensics team. Congratulations to the entire high school forensics team as they advanced to the state speech competition. The season was entirely virtual this year, and the following students, I just want to mention a few of them. We had a gold medal, went to Kenton Newman in Sermon Verk. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. I apologize. And then, we had multiple people with a silver medal and quite a few with bronze, and a couple of them with another small bronze. So we had a lot of success there with our forensics team, and we hope they keep on with the good work. And that's my district administrator report. Thank you.
Thank you. Then moving on to recognition and thank you, Staff Appreciation Week.
Yeah, tonight we all recognize, we want to take time to recognize all of our district employees who dedicate their time and energy towards making our Holmen schools a safe and nurturing environment. Our staff have gone above and beyond in so many ways this year, and I cannot thank all of them enough. They have had to go out of their normal ways and their roles and their responsibilities and do things that they've never been done before. They've been asked to do many things they've never done before. But you know what? In Holmen, they do what they have to for our kids. So just wanted to say thank you and let them know you appreciate them when you see them. Thank you.
Thank you. Then moving on to reports and discussion, employee benefit insurance bids.
Good evening. There'll be 3 of us presenting, but I will get up and let one, so that we're not too crowded up here at the table. So. What number are we? Too far up. All right, so this evening, oops, should we wait for Cheryl? Step up. Do you want me to wait for Cheryl?
We have some people in the other room and we wanted to see it.
Okay. Okay.
A sequestered jury.
I can go ahead? All right. So this evening, we'll be presenting on the employee benefits insurance bid results and the July 1st renewal recommendation. I have presenting with me Crystal Mott, Director of Business Services, and Janice Wavra, our consultant, corporate benefits specialist from the Insurance Center. So in February, we brought to you the plan and timeline for the bid process for the renewal of our employee benefit insurances. And so tonight we are at the place within the process where we are sharing the evaluation of those bids and providing a board recommendation. This is for plan renewal for benefits effective July 1st, 2021. This is just a reminder of the estimated timeline, which I just spoke about. In February, the RFP was prepared. In March, the bids were solicited to many, many carriers, and then bids were received and evaluated through the month of April, and tonight we are presenting on the recommendation. The lines of coverage that we went out for bid on include group health insurance, group and voluntary dental insurance, employer-paid term life insurance, supplemental term life, which is voluntary, employer-paid long-term disability, voluntary short-term disability, and our flexible spending plan administration. So next we will go through the group, starting with the group health insurance, the bid results from the carriers, and Janice is going to present those.
First of all, good evening. Thank you for allowing us to present to you, and it's certainly nice to be in person and not a virtual meeting, so thank you again. So we did do a formal RFP, as Julie described to you, that included all the lines of coverages or the different benefit plans that is offered to the School District of Holmen employees. And your current carrier for the health insurance, I'm just going to go across each row, is with WCA Group Health Trust. And we originally, with just the renewal process, received a 0% rate increase. Through the RFP, they submitted a -4 rate decrease. So we took advantage of going from a 0 to a -4. The dental plan has been with Delta Dental. The original renewal with Delta Dental was a 6% rate increase. The results of the RFP is a 0% rate increase. The employer-paid life and the supplemental life are with Epic, and Epic released a renewal at 0%, and the RFP was also at a 0%. The employer-paid the employer-paid LTD is also with Epic. The renewal and also the RFP resulted in a 0% rate increase. The voluntary short-term disability, the renewal, and the RFP resulted in a -4.5% rate decrease. And the FSA administrator is Employee Benefits Corporation, also known as EBC out of Madison, and their initial renewal and also the RFP resulted in a 0% rate increase. Decrease, I'm sorry, it was a flat. It's a flat, I'm sorry. We received results, a bid proposal from Quartz. Quartz is our local HMO, and HMO again means Health Maintenance Organization, which really means a narrower network. So access to providers is more restricted or a narrow network. And with that, they provided two plans. One was an HMO, which is the narrower network, which would be the Quartz One network. In our local market, it means the Gunderson facilities are in network. They also proposed a point of service, or a POS, and that one does provide in-network services, which would be the Quartz One or the Gunderson Access. And an out-of-network would be any provider that is not contracted with Quartz, which in our area, the easiest way to say would be all Mayo Access would be at the out-of-network benefit level, which means higher deductibles, higher out-of-pocket exposure for employees and family members that elected to go out of the network. However, you will see that the rates proposed in the Quartz results were actually higher than what we have with our incumbent carrier with WCA. And one thing with the WCA is that they have a very broad network, which does include our two local providers. So employees and family members have access to both Gunderson and Mayo at the in-network benefit level, which is certainly an advantage. When we look at the dental proposals, again, Delta Dental does have the largest provider network in our market, not only locally, but also state and nationwide. Their admin and claims processing are exceptional. We did receive a response to our RFP from United Healthcare, also known as UHC, Emeritus, and Epic. Their rates are higher than what was in the formal RFP results from Delta, and their networks are going to be definitely more restricted or more limited in nature. And then with regard to the life, employer paid, the supplemental life, the long-term and short-term disability, and the FFSA, no one that submitted a quote met the guidelines that were a part of the RFP. And then with regard to the carriers that actually declined, so when we send out the RFP, that includes a lot of information. It's a huge bid packet. It includes the employee census, the claims history, rate history, the details of each plan, more than just what we call a deductible, co-insurance, maximum out-of-pocket. It actually gives the details of how different services are covered or not covered or excluded, along with the instructions outlining how to complete and submit the RFP. So the carriers review that data, and they'll determine if they're going to release a proposal to us. And these are the carriers that actually declined. They can decline because of the information that was proposed. Maybe when the underwriters look at the plan and the current rates, they know that their offers are not going to be competitive, so they'll just issue a decline. So these all submitted a decline letter to us through that process. And on the next page, these are the carriers that responded, but their submissions were incomplete or they were late. So our instructions clearly indicated what needed to be included in their responses, and also the timeline and the deadline in order to submit their proposal. And these were all past the deadline and or their bid submissions were incomplete.
I can get it.
Do a little switcheroo here so I can jump in. So Janice and I will continue to review some of the additional plan details. Here shows, it says history, but really it's comparing the current year plan and the same plan being proposed for 21-22. Again, this is a high deductible health plan with a health savings account. We are not required to contribute to the health savings accounts, but it is a benefit associated with the district's plan. You can see here we have the base level for $750 for single or $1,500 for family. And those on the plan that decide to participate in the wellness program can reach the maximum level, which is $1,500 single, $2,250 family with no spouse participating, or $3,000 with both spouses participating. And there again would be that premium that was shown on the bid page.
This slide has been updated. We initially presented this to you in February, and we showed the claims that were paid through 2020. Just as a reminder, the reporting that we're sharing with you is based off a 12-month period, which is a calendar year. The district's benefits run on a plan year, which is July 1st through June 30th, but historically we've tried to show you this data on a 12-month cycle, so we want to be consistent. So when we presented the 2020 claims in February, we were at a 79% loss ratio. And I have updated this slide to reflect the additional claims that were processed for fourth quarter, which increased the loss ratio to be at 81%. There's always a lag, typically from a data service to when the claim has actually been processed, so I thought it was important to share with you additional updates to the claims incurred for fourth quarter. So from a plan perspective, we won't be able to actually look at what the loss ratio is from a plan year until after the close of the plan year, which will again be on June 30th, and then allow enough lag time. But the plan is running well in comparison to other years that we've shared the information, and it could be for several reasons. Actuarial, we won't know for probably 2+ years how the impact of COVID is going to impact claims going into the future, because we know that individuals did put off services that could be delayed. Preventative care services were delayed because we can see the numbers as far as the decline in what we call preventative care services, which could be a deterrent in the future that something wasn't caught in the early stages, but certainly something where someone had to have medical attention, they maybe were in treatment or had to have a surgical procedure. Hopefully those people took care of those in a timely fashion, so we won't have a negative impact going forward. But the underwriters indicate it's going to be probably a couple years till we see how that will cycle through this process. But certainly we're in a better place than we have been in prior years. This slide actually shows you the prior years, so the premium is reflected in the blue bar and the claims are actually reflected in the orange bar. So you can see that we are still running well in comparison to other years when we've shown this information to the board and those in attendance. With regard to the plan, when we submitted the RFP, as I mentioned earlier, we wanted to make sure that all the proposals that we received back from the carriers matched our bid spec. And we, back in February when we presented to the board, we actually, I think, had an alternative plan that was going to be based off of the results of the RFP. And as Crystal showed, our recommendation is not to make any plan changes because of the -4. There is one change to the plan effective July 1st, and it only impacts employees that have family coverage. Because you have one person in the family can reach that, and that will adjust on July 1st from $6,750 to $7,000. Again, that's part of the ACA where those numbers adjust each year. So that is the only difference from the current plan that will impact the employees and their families. These are what I call value-added services that are part of your contract with WCA. So again, these are features that not all carriers provide. The teledoc, we have seen an increase or a spike in services, especially over the last 12 months. And teledoc is a virtual visit. So if someone is leery or concerned about going into a clinic setting, this provided them with an opportunity to do a teledoc visit. WCA actually offers 3 different teledocs. One is for general health, one is for dermatology, and one of them is for mental health well-being. So they have 3 different areas of teledoc that all employees and their family members can use that are enrolled in the district's health insurance plan. The HSA education is something that we have done ongoing. I think it's something that we want to continue to provide resources on in education when we're permitted to conduct meetings like we used to as educational components. The Neighborhood Family Clinic and the Community Care Clinic are contracted directly with WCA Group Health Trust. So if an employee and their family members go to one of our local cash clinics, all medical services are covered at 100%. Nothing applies to that member's deductible or out of pocket. So there's some certainly advantages. First of all, no deductible or out of pocket exposure for the employees and their family members. So that helps preserve their HSA accounts. And also any dollars that are processed through the cash clinics do not accumulate towards the group's overall claims and utilization. So it's a great way to have lower cost health care that's convenient. The GoodRx is a tool that we use to help educate employees and their family members on where to access lower cost prescriptions. And the EAP program is certainly something that we've seen an uptick in utilization as well, where family members need to reach out and ask for some assistance in various areas of concern or where they need some help. So those are promotions that we try to provide to the district employees and their family members throughout the year.
So in our presentations, we like to show these next two slides just to visualize the impact of the premium change. So this is the estimated actually savings this year for members on the plan based on that 4% decrease. Again, this is the employee premium. The employee pays 15% of the total premium. As compared to the next slide, which would be the employer changes. Again, estimating that 4% decrease, the district pays 85% of the health insurance premium and then would represent the various employer costs associated with the health insurance plan. So we generally will review the alternative benefit plan for those not on the district's health insurance, the premium costs for the district, the associated cost of the health savings account that again the district applies the benefit, and then some of the associated costs with that wellness program with the health risk assessments. Any questions for us?
Any questions? Okay, I don't see any. This will be on the next school board meeting's agenda for consideration. So if you have, Jennifer, as a new board member, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Dr. Mueller and ask her any questions that you'd like so that she could answer that for you before the next board meeting. Okay, thank you. So then the next item is the interactive flat panel display bid.
Good evening. The one information and technology item before you tonight is a purchase to complete a multi-year plan to upgrade the audio-video systems in all of our elementary school classrooms. This is the fourth and final building now to undergo this upgrade. You have a few files in your Google Drive this evening related to this. This essentially takes every classroom at Viking Elementary and just replaces an older projector or smartboard solution with a touch-enabled flat panel display. Any questions on this? Anything you're interested in me discussing specifically, I'm happy to share.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. And then the next item is the preliminary staffing report. Looks like Melissa will help with that.
Good evening. So tonight I am going to go over some recommendations for staffing for the next school year, 21-22. So we'll go over our current year enrollment numbers. We'll take a look at some open enrollment numbers that we've got in to date and then talk about recommendations for next school year. So as we look at our current school year, this is as of that third Friday in January count. Total enrollment was at 3,830. Our 4K5 enrollment, 1,756, 905 at our middle school, and 1,169 at our high school. As of April 20th, our open enrollment numbers, you'll see first the ins and second the outs. 4K through grade 5, we've got 35 open enrolled in so far for next year and 68 out, with the majority of those numbers being 4K numbers. That is not unusual for us. We do see that as a trend on an annual basis. At the middle school, we've got 5 in and 6 out, and high school, 12 in and 17 out. So looking at next year. So for our elementaries, for K through 5, our current enrollment, again, 1750. For 21-22, right now we have 1,615. However, we always see a large increase in 4K and K numbers coming in over the summer. As late as August, we continue to get those numbers, so we do anticipate that to increase as we move forward. When we look at the new requested positions, so first talking about the new classroom teacher. As we roll sections forward into a new grade level, it doesn't always work out that the number of teachers in that section aligns with the number of kids coming into that section. It also, to help ensure we follow the district guidelines under class size, the way it all rolled out this year is that we do need one new classroom teacher at Prairie View. There will be other new positions, but we're using attrition to move people who have left other buildings and into those positions and create new classes through attrition. But following board policy, we do have a request for one new classroom teacher at Prairie View. And then on the special education side, again, this is at Prairie View, we do have an increase in student needs. We've managed to get by the last few years, but looking at next year, we do recognize that we do need to increase at specifically a 0.5 position in behavioral interventionist and a 1.5 in special education teachers at Prairie View as well. On the elementary side, continuing, just as a side note, as we look to fill those Holmen Virtual Academy positions with internal staff, we will fill their vacancies with limited term positions again, so as not to fill with a permanent person, to allow that person to come back in the event we either don't have enrollment for Holmen Virtual in the future, or that teacher is no longer interested in that position. So we'll continue. You may see those on the personnel report as well. And then high school is career and tech ed. So we've added some amazing opportunities and spaces for kids, and they are enrolling. For 21, or this current school year course requests in those CTE, the career and tech ed classes, we had requests of 808 and Ag Science 291, and you can see the increase for next year, 1187 for CTE and 407 for Ag Science. That is after administration and counselors went through and moved kids out and into other things to help reduce that number. So those numbers give us a full-time teacher need at the high school. We do have some reductions, not enough for a whole teacher, but our business marketing and our foreign language numbers are down. Now, the difference, when you look at a business marketing class, for example, the classroom max is 32 kids. A CTE class is 18. So it's almost a 2-to-1 when you look at the number of kids who can be put into those classrooms. So that also makes it a little more difficult and adds that requirement for us to add more staffing sooner than we normally would with these positions. So that is the need at the high school. We did meet with the middle school, and we do not have any changes right now this year that would require any new staffing at that building. So these are our recommendations. This would come to the board at the next board meeting on the consent agenda. So one new classroom teacher at Prairie View, and then 1.5 special education, and a 0.5 behavioral interventionist at Prairie View, and a 1.0 CTE or egg teacher, someone who can fill those small machine type roles. So that's where we're at.
Are there questions? Anita?
Can I ask, what did you say the capacity is in the CTE class? Did you say 18 students?
Yeah, a lot of them are 18.
Okay, wow. That makes sense, but boy, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You can increase the education, special education at Prairie View by 2 teachers. How many are out there now? You know,
We have 4.5.
4 now, so you'll have 6.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions? So as Melissa said, this comes to the next board meeting, so if you have questions, please reach out to the district administrator and she will get those answered for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, then the next item is our consent agenda, and we have 9 items this evening on our consent agenda. Some of them are first readings for some policies, if you had a chance to look over those. Unless you would like to have something segregated and pulled out to be considered separately, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Anita, is there a second?
Second.
Rebecca, any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda items as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. Then, next item is the board member reports and discussion. And I know for Emily and Jennifer, this is your first time, so we'll put you at the end. But at the end of the meeting, you have that opportunity to speak about any committee meeting that you've attended or issues that have come before you, and to share with the board meeting at this point. So we'll start with Gary.
We did have a finance committee meeting tonight. It went very well. We reviewed some policies and took into consideration some other changes in the school district. Make a few comments about the speakers tonight. I'm sure the masks are going to end soon. It's getting closer and closer. It seems a little more restrictive now because we are getting at the end, and so you still have to wear your mask. It has to be frustrating. And some of the athlete comments about athletes and so on. If you have a group of kids outside and it's better. I think this is my own opinion. It's a lot easier to have the kids wear the mask all the time than try to have them put them on when they get 6 feet away and take them off when they're 10 feet away, etc. So I think kind of that's what the understanding is there. And I heard 100 times today that the masks are worn to protect the people wearing the mask from COVID. And the reality is that the masks are more to protect the people that are around those people. If you have COVID and you're trying to transmit, and you're going to transmit the disease, the masks are keep you from transmitting disease to someone else. So it's not a matter of freedom. If you don't have the choice whether to expose yourself to COVID or not when you wear a mask, what you're doing is when you take it off, if you have contact COVID, you have the potential to spread it around to several different people. So it's not a matter of freedom of I can choose whether I want to be exposed to COVID or not. That's not the case. You're exposing other people to COVID they don't have a choice about it, and it may be lethal. And I do think, my own personal opinion again is I think 14 days of quarantine, my own opinion is I think that'll be changed sooner than later. I think that's a kind of long period, 14 days. I understand it, and we want to make sure we protect everyone. The bottom line is, well, first of all, freedom. They talked about freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is not unrestricted. Freedom of speech has restrictions. You cannot, for example, you can't go into a theater and start yelling fire. Because that's a freedom of speech. So it's not a matter of you can say whatever you want, whenever you want to say it. Sometimes it's restricted. And that's the same as any other freedom. If you think they said, well, I don't want to wear a mask because I want to exert my freedom. Well, there's lots of freedoms that are restricted by law to save and protect the other people in the community, such as speed limits, stop signs, assault and battery rules. So you're not absolute free. The bottom line is, I wonder when I hear some of these people talk, what's acceptable in a number of lives so that you don't have to wear your mask, or so that a child doesn't have to wear your mask. We have older people in this community, and like I said before, we had 80 people, was it 80 or 50 or 80 people died in this county. So what's acceptable is you say, well, 2 people dying in our community, is that acceptable so we don't have to wear a mask? Is 2, 3, 4, 5? Well, only 5 people died, so I guess I'll leave my mask off. 1 is unacceptable in my view. It's coming to an end. Just hang in there. It's been a year so far, and we've only got a couple of weeks or maybe a month left, and things will start getting lifted. Just hang in there. And for a grown adult to have such extreme extreme opinions about doing something as simple as wearing a little mask an hour a day in their work life or during their day. I just don't understand how that can be acceptable. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Gary. Anita Jagosinski.
Thank you. I wanted to first welcome Jennifer and welcome Chris back and welcome Emily to the board. It's a learning curve, and I'm sure you're all up to the task. It's a good place to be, to help try to make decisions to guide the district. And we look forward to hearing what the high school kids have on their minds and concerns you have. So I guess I would echo a lot of Gary's comments. I don't want to speak to it a lot, but just that if we have people that don't want to go back to virtual learning, which I totally understand, and people who don't want to wear masks, and then the intersection of those two groups of people, the masks and remaining face-to-face kind of go hand in hand. We have mitigation strategies in place so that we can remain in person, but to petition the board and ask to remove masks from all the kids literally will guarantee that we'll go back to virtual learning, and none of us want that. Nobody wants to see prom canceled or graduation held virtually and sports canceled. And if there's a little bit more patience till we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, which we can kind of see, it's getting brighter and we don't want to dim it again. So like I said, I would agree with most, but not all, Gary, most of what you said. I can't agree with all of it because you get a big head, but yeah, we're almost there. If people could just realize that the mitigation strategies that we're following are not put in place to try to remove anybody's personal freedoms. It's really to try to keep people healthy, and that's doing unto others what you would want them to do unto you, which is look out for each other. And that's about all I have.
Okay, thank you. Chris Lau.
I just want to thank all the participation tonight. It was a pretty emotional night. I just want to thank everybody for coming out. Big shout out to the staff for the district this year. It's been quite a year, and I just can't say enough about the appreciation that I personally have, and I know all the board members have, and the district administration has for the staff and teachers. And then, of course, just welcome Jennifer.
Thank you. Rebecca Reimer.
Yeah, ditto from everybody. Welcome Jennifer and Emily, and welcome Chris. It'll be fun, hopefully a little bit more fun this coming year. So I also want to comment, and I don't do it very often. Our intent isn't to cause further harm by keeping masks on. I'd rather wear a mask personally rather than compromise somebody who's already compromised, whether it be a child or a student or even an elder. So that's my choice. I also want to thank all the staff throughout the year. Hope you have a great week, May 3rd through the 7th, and in the other days. So, and we have made it this far. If we just, like Gary said, if we can just hang in there, we've made it this far. We've been through much worse this past 12, 14 months. So, that's all I have.
Hey, thank you. Brian Wopat.
I would like to welcome our new board members. A great position to be in terms of advocating for the students in the district. We know that you're going to do your best forward and do the best job that you can. I welcome you to the board. I had the opportunity last week to attend the Diverse Cultural Alliance. They did a Zoom with Brigade Commander from the Naval Academy, Ryan Chapman, who is a graduate of Holmen High School, and he spoke on social justice, and it was eye-opening, and it was interesting to see how, even within the Naval Academy, that there is discrimination, and from the top down, that there was even resistance for them to create a diversity committee to try to promote equality within the academy. And I thank them for giving me that opportunity to sit in. It opened my mind to the fact that we all have to be humble and willing to learn, and even though we're not sure where other people are coming from all the time from their perspective, to at least give them the respect to listen to them, and hope that they're coming from good intentions to move forward for a better world, a better society, a better school climate. the last thing that I'd like to say in terms of what we heard tonight with the speakers is there's 28 days that are left within the school calendar. And as a classroom teacher, I look at what the students are doing and what the staff is doing in wearing the masks up to this point. And it's worked. And as much as I heard, to not instill fear, I'm not instilling fear. The reality is this is working. And I don't want to see the other side of that, the consequence of then all of a sudden taking that off and allowing students to potentially, not saying that, because I don't know if it will happen or not, but to spread this sickness and cause other students to be homebound and learning virtual, because it is, Dr. Mueller said it well, we want to get to graduation. We want to see these kids have opportunities in athletics and attend prom. And again, it's about this multi-layered approach, and the mitigation strategy is, one of them is just to wear the mask and to comply. I just think it's being respectful of the process until the end of the school year, and then let time play out until next fall, and cross our fingers and hope that everyone is in a position next fall to not have to wear this. Thank you.
Thank you. Then next is Jennifer Deek.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for the warm welcome. I'm excited for this opportunity and look forward to working alongside all the board members here. I'd also like to thank those who participated in the public participation today. It's a pleasure to hear your thoughts and to hear a variety of opinions. I also wanted to congratulate the 12 athletes that signed letters of intent with colleges and universities across our country to continue their academic and athletic journey after they graduate from Holmen High School. I thought that was pretty impressive to see. And lastly, I guess just to reiterate what others have already said, that just because we're so close to the end of the school year, I want to encourage everyone to remain vigilant and stress the importance of continuing to follow the mitigation strategies through the last 6 weeks of school. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Emily, Zach.
Just switch your chair around so you get this. There you go. I'm very, very fortunate that I get to be here tonight and just talk to you guys about how the high school is feeling, about just all the feelings, mostly about the public participation. And I did do a poll on my social media just about like the masks for spring sports, and I had 108 people vote for taking them off, getting them off while we're playing sports, and 29 for keeping them on. And most of the responses I had, people, they were allowed to respond to it, and most of them were like, it's so difficult to breathe, because once you get all that sweat build up, you're outside, you have a lot lower of a risk for getting the virus. And I think that the rules have kind of changed in the last week, but I found it interesting that we follow the WIAA and spend $4,000 on it, but we weren't following the rules about masks that the WIAA has on their website. I also have a family member that lives in Oklahoma, and they have not had mask requirements this entire year unless the teacher requested it personally. But once all the teachers got vaccinated, they were more comfortable, and their last case was in February of this year. I also thought that the freshmen that were all quarantined, they can't even get fully vaccinated yet for them to even not have to quarantine for that 14 days. And I'd also like to point out the treatment that the freshmen have been getting the last couple days, as most of the freshmen have been told to move to the other side, get away from me, get away, like I don't want you to give me anything. They've been treated so poorly, and I think that that's kind of shown how that fear and that game that the one mother was talking about with their kids coming and saying, comparing it to Nazis, it's very accurate. And if I were to get quarantined now, I would miss 6 softball games. I would miss both of the AP tests that I have coming up next week, and it is terrifying. and wearing a mask for not 1 hour a day like the parents are. The parents came to speak for us. We're wearing it for 8 hours a day, plus playing sports in the mask, and it's just more unsafe, I believe. And I think we also need to realize the mom who came and spoke about her child speaking about suicide. Like, not just the deaths of COVID. I understand, yes, a death from COVID is still just as tragic as a death from suicide, but our young children in middle school are talking about suicide already. Is that not just as alarming as a COVID death? And that child also getting targeted for sexual predation, just as alarming, I think even more. I also think we need to, again, go over our quarantine rules because, of course, all these fun events are just starting to happen up again, just like many of the parents were bringing up. And I think that we need to stop with the unnecessary quarantining because I'm terrified of losing that last month of school that everyone is most excited for. So that's what's going on at the high school right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And, well, I also would like to welcome Emily and Jennifer and re-welcome Chris to the board. I'd like to thank those individuals who agreed to serve in a leadership role as officers. I would note that each board member is asked to serve on at least one committee, including the student rep. And Stacy will share with you the committee descriptions. And I know, for example, the student rep usually serves on the Student Achievement and Learning Committee, but if there are other committees you'd like to serve on, that certainly is doable. And so those will be coming out in the next couple weeks. Usually what happens is you'll continue to serve on the committee you're on now, currently, through the school year. Usually May, sometimes June is the last meeting of that committee. And we then have a break over the summer and begin in September the committee work again. So just to give you an idea that how that process works. I know the Student Achievement and Learning Committee did submit and forwarded a couple policies that were approved. I also have had the opportunity to meet with the HEA and are undergoing negotiations, and am reminded that we have such an awesome staff and dedicated and committed to this district. Not only the HEA, but as Dr. Mueller mentioned, it's Staff Appreciation Week and the work that all of our staff did over the past 12, 13 months, and working and doing things that they were asked to do that are not their normal, usual work. It just is very heartwarming, the pride that they all have in Holmen and being a part of Holmen. So let's see. I did want to note that public participation, we had about almost an hour of time for public participation, and many school boards don't allow that at every meeting. And we've made a commitment to do that. And some school boards have either 2 or 3 minutes only allowed per speaker, and we've elected to go with the 5 minutes. And I know I left for a minute and reached out to Laura to let her know if she wanted to include that quote, we would be happy to take the quote that she wasn't able to read because her time had lapsed, and that we would include it in the record. It's not something that, we do to be mean or whatever. It's just a rule that we've established, and we've got to ask all speakers to respect that. And she was very pleasant and is, considering that, and I appreciated that as well. I know I'm hearing things about masking and outdoor masking, and I understand those things are looking to change. So we're waiting for that, and we'll wait for that. But education is our job, and that's the work we do. And we look to the experts, such as the CDC and the Harvard Global Health Model and our local county health department, to guide us on the health area related items. We have closed down, and I recall not too many years ago where we closed down an elementary school, at least for a day, because we had a flu outbreak. And it was the county who determined that that is what would happen. We closed down, we did cleaning. So this isn't something, working with the county health department isn't something new to us. Yeah, I equate the wearing of masks right now under the situation we have as no shoes, no shirt, no service. I kind of equate it in the same thing. That isn't a rule that businesses came up with. That's something that comes out of the health department. That is who has determined that those would be good health, public health kind of actions. I look forward to the changes in the outdoor masking. I look forward to those changes. As a gymnastics official, this last season, it was interesting to me because I have watched some of the local gymnasts in this area, and quite honestly, I saw some gymnasts perform higher and receive higher scores with their masks on than they did at sectionals when they were able to take their mask off. And so I do believe young people are resilient and they will find a way to adapt. And as others have said, we only have 28 or 30 days left to go. We want prom to happen. We want graduation to happen. And when we came back to in-person, we came back with the understanding we could only do so if these mitigations were followed. And masking and social distancing and quarantining when you come in close contact with others who tested positive were clearly pointed out as mitigations that would happen. It reminds me of my granddaughter when she asks me for a piece of candy or something, and I say, I'll give you a piece of candy if you clean your room. And she says, okay, and so I give her the candy, and then she doesn't want to clean her room. And the consequences that go with that. She won't get candy next time, obviously, or maybe she'll have to clean her room first.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the situation we're in, is we said to parents and to families and to students, we want you back in person, and these, in order to do it, these are the mitigations that are in place and that we will be adhering to. And I know it's a struggle now because the numbers are spiking, and so as I have asked, please follow the mitigations, not only in our buildings and on our fields, but when you are out and about. Because Emily, we want you to experience those things too. And we know from some of the contact tracing that a number of those close contacts didn't come in our buildings. They came in community events and birthday parties and awards banquets and those things. So those are the kind of things that we are asking our families to help us get through those 28 days. So that is all I have for tonight, and I apologize. It was emotional tonight, and I feel for all of those people in my heart. That is one thing that wearing a mask can do, is it can kind of cover some of those emotions that you're feeling as you hear from folks. And but I think we all appreciate their willingness to come out and pour their souls out to us. I think we do appreciate that. So then I would just note that we received written reports from Buildings and Grounds and from Student Achievement and Learning Committees. Our upcoming meeting is May 10th. We also have a meeting on the 24th. Senior Recognition Night is scheduled for May 26th, a month from today, at 6:30 in the Fine Arts Center. The retiree reception we're hoping to have the next day in the Fine Arts Center. And the high school graduation is scheduled for May 29th at the La Crosse Center at 1 p.m. Look forward to all of those. Unless there's anything else that needs to come before the board tonight, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Anita, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Chris, a motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you.